You know, Matt Taibbi wrote a book called Hate Inc. I don't know if you ever read it. He basically makes the argument that Rachel Maddow is essentially Bill O'Reilly, that they're the same person.
The U.S. government is going to have to either unwind from all of those contracts, or Elon Musk's companies are going to have to unwind him. This is an untenable reality in national security terms, now that we know what we know about Elon Musk.
And what is that? What do we know?
That he endorsed President Trump.
He's a genius.
They're very good at making enemies, and then when enemies they've made treat them poorly, they are shocked.
Have you ever wondered what happens when Rachel Maddow is roasted by Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly? There will be mayhem, truth bombs, and many instances of, did she really just say that? Get ready for a confrontation so intense that it will resemble the most brutal imaginable collision between a podcast and a news discussion. Maddow didn't anticipate this, and you won't either. Are you prepared for the drama?
Fallout from Joy Reid's firing at MSNBC continues. She signed off from the show for the last time last night. I mean, you know, we are going to miss her in our own special way. And her now former colleague, Rachel Maddow, never one to not be the center of attention if she can find a way of injecting herself into a story, decided to deliver a monologue aimed directly at her bosses. And this is the theme of what we...
Let's get started. This story is comparable to a gloveless political cage bout. And you know who's being hammered to pieces? Maddow, Rachel. With 1,000 PowerPoint slides, a headset, and a talent for making even the smallest political issue into a volcanic explosion, you are familiar with her as the self-proclaimed queen of cable news drama.
Rachel Maddow calling for Elon Musk contracts to be taken away. It's the bananas thing ever.
The Defense Department and NASA are going to need a new arrangement for all their rockets and for all the multi-billion-dollar contracts Elon Musk's companies have with the U.S. government.
Yeah. Literally one of the greatest geniuses in human history. A guy who's simultaneously landing rockets, not just shooting them, but landing them, having them get caught by robots in the sky. Then you have Tesla. Then you have Starlink. Then you have the Boring Company. They're simultaneously running all these different things.
I bet Rachel Maddow's pretty...
This time, however, it was not another talking head or late-night panel that sent the title tsunami smashing into her well-constructed MSNBC fortress. No, it came from two unexpected sources who joined forces to pull off a takedown. The incisive media courtroom of Megyn Kelly and the podcast Jungle by Joe Rogan.
Bad. No matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it.
And I do not defend it. To feel indefensible. And I do not defend it. Okay, she really is one of the most, maybe, is she the most annoying people on television. She oozes sanctimony and self-righteousness. And here's the real truth. She took her boss's faces and rubbed them in shit last night.
Let's start by discussing Joe Rogan, the man who hosts a podcast that is essentially the media equivalent of an open-air BBQ. But be careful, sometimes the truth is served hotter than barbecue sauce from Texas. Rogan is not like other newscasters. He combines the perseverance of a marathon runner with the curiosity of a dude next door and an unrelenting fact-checker. It's like Sherlock Holmes smelling out smoke and realizing that someone just lit the whole town on fire when he sees a tail. Now, it may be a stretch to call Matt's recent reporting reportage. Imagine crafting a story with sporadic factual ramblings.
For whatever reason, hardcore lesbians, when they want to be taken seriously, they dress like a man. And they dress like a man in a business outfit.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Look how she dresses. She puts a suit jacket on. I'm serious. I'm here for the meeting. I'm here to explain things to you people.
Rachel Maddow gets paid $100,000 a day. Like, to me, that's a lot of money.
Good for her.
That's a good...
You buy a lot of man.
With her trademark flair for making the ordinary seem like the impending end of the world, she made some fiery assertions that had the political commentary community aflutter. And Rogan, whose brand of pull up a chair is accompanied with a dash of ruthless skepticism, is the ideal person to provide a reality check. It was like witnessing a big sledgehammer destroy a glass house as Rogan approached. Using his signature blend of deadpan sarcasm and bused skepticism, he slowly deconstructed Madow's exaggerated situations, piece by piece. "Are you certain about that?" he seemed to ask, letting the facts speak for themselves without even raising his voice. Furthermore, facts are obstinate, in contrast to MSNBC scripts. Rogan's focus on Maddow's favorite dramatic claim, the sort that seems like it was conjured up in a fever dream fueled by too many conspiracy forums, was one standout moment.
Rachel Maddow trying to say, What pains us the most is not what happens to us, is a lie too. The reason she won't give the $1 million or the $2 million to save any of those jobs, and she doesn't have to cut him a check. She could actually just take it out of her current salary. You know why she won't? Because she's got bills to pay and her lifestyle is too important to her. Rachel Maddow currently, according to my calculation, and I'm sure it's much more, has a $1 million penthouse, I say, on Upper East Side, where her neighbors are Jodie Foster and Barry Manilow at some.
By bringing in genuine statistics and contrasting her wildfire fears with a stark, unyielding reality, he ripped it apart. It was more than a simple takedown. For anybody who may have been captivated by the talking heads' typical suspenseful music, it was a hey, here's what really occurred lesson. But the atmosphere was more important than the facts. It seemed like Rogan was inviting Matt to the cool kids table and then quickly informing her, sorry, you're not on the guest list, because of his easygoing charm and I'm just a dude asking questions attitude.
Did Rachel Maddow ever apologize for telling everybody that if you get the COVID vaccine, you're never going to get COVID? It won't, the virus stops with you.
No, never.
Never. It's just, it was not true at the time. There was no evidence to support it at the time. It's pure propaganda. And she said it, the Russiagate hoax. For 3 fucking years, they said that he was his toy.
Yes.
And that Putin had him compromised. The Steele dossier.
Steele dossier was completely fabricated by a lawyer at King's Quay who was paid by the Clinton campaign.
No shouting or cheap shots were used. Instead, layers were ruthlessly peeled back until just the gleaming, empty shell of grandstanding remained. Megyn Kelly was the hawk circling above, about to dive in with surgical precision, if Rogan was the friendly giant brandishing a hammer. Kelly had a particular type of influence because of her experience in primetime news and law. The capacity to subtly expose a supposedly self-assured assertion by highlighting the little, often missed aspects that beg for ineptitude, or worse, deliberate manipulation. Theatrics and loudness were not the focus of Kelly's criticism. It was about revealing the flaws in Matt's well-crafted narrative facade. Kelly represented the careful, deliberate dissection, while Rogan represented the brutal force trauma. As everyone else is still getting their bearings, it's like a forensic specialist patiently putting out the evidence.
Caitlyn Jenner teasing Mark Cuban about transitioning.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Caitlyn Jenner's based.
Yeah, but that is actually hilarious. And someone who has transitioned is teasing Mark Cuban about transitioning.
I mean, it is weird how much he looks like Rachel Maddow. I mean, like he's using the same glasses. Did he,
I don't know why
did he go klepto and put glasses or something? Because they look exactly the same.
He's worth a lot of money. Why would he buy those stupid glasses?
Unflattering.
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm serious because I don't even care what I look like. I'm just wearing these because I'm intelligent.
But why did it look exactly like Rachel Maddow's glasses?
That's like what they probably sent him.
She approached Maddow's ethical acrobatics with a keen eye, highlighting the devious ways commentary might pass for news while disregarding unfavorable fact. Kelly's strategy was a brilliant example of how to smile while undermining someone's credibility. She revealed the small print behind Matt's grandiose statements. The context was distorted, the journalistic boundaries were bent, and certain elements were omitted.
Also learn a lot if you watch MSNBC. I don't know if you're aware, but their reaction, you're not gonna be able to believe this, to the Friday Oval Office situation was to claim that Trump is problematically tied to Russia. I'll give you just a little taste of Rachel Maddow's monologue on it last night.
Imagine if a foreign adversary, imagine if the Putin government somehow, just do a thought experiment. Imagine they could somehow exert control, influence over the government of the United States. What do you think the Putin government would have the U.S. government do if he could control it? What kind of headlines would you expect to see about the operations of our government under that kind of? And what would you expect the news out of the Oval Office?
Kelly's highlight video of Maddow's most egregious deviations from stated truth to wild supposition stands out as one particularly memorable instance. Kelly didn't have to stand or yell. It was evident from her composed speech that Maddow wasn't lying. She was using it in a vigorous yoga pose. Matt's storyline seemed to be a house of cards constructed on quicksand due to Kelly's accurate edits. The unstated question was what made Kelly's takedown so painful. Would Maddow be able to withstand cross-examination if her journalism were a courtroom? Thanks to Kelly's close examination, the response was a loud nay.
Rachel Maddow, with her typical ceremonious, I'm sorry to have to do this, but here's the latest of these terrible people. This is what happened. This is what happened with these disgusting opponents. Watch. Here she is.
This is him today twice throwing something that looks like what is politely called Roman salute. And maybe this is not what he meant when he did it. Who among us knows what is in the hearts of men? But the Roman salute is a thing. And that is what it looks like Elon Musk was doing, which added a nice blood-curdling chill to the day for many people today. He does it twice. And again, maybe that's not what he meant. He doesn't know what that is. That happened today.
That happened today. Who among us knows what's in the hearts of men?
A. Under the weight of journalistic ethics and legal reasoning, Maddow's lofty language fell apart, and Kelly calmly explained why making a tale into a thriller doesn't make it truthful or accountable. This is when the exciting part begins. Rogan and Kelly were each harsh critics on their own, but when combined, their criticisms created a powerful storm. Rogan delivers the unvarnished grassroots criticism with his casual, just a guy next door attitude. "Hey, why are you selling snake oil dressed as news?" he asks, holding up a mirror to the well-executed spectacle. Imagine him as the person who shows up at the party without an invitation. His unrelenting, unadorned fact-checking is what gives him his impact, not his big speeches.
That was a disgusting display by both women on the set. I would vote for Ron DeSantis over Biden any day of the week. I've made that clear, okay? I tell you what my bias is. When I sat across from DeSantis, I pressed him. I pressed the weaknesses in his arguments, things that he said that were inconsistent, positions he had that would fall apart potentially if you really drilled down, and he stood his own. That's what a journalist does. That's what your obligation is as a member of the media. You failed, Rachel Maddow. You failed. I don't care how much they give you, $30 million. You're not worth 30 cents. That was an embarrassment. You found on the job, you embarrassed yourself and your network, and you ceded our discussion to a dishonest broker who set us down this disgusting path that we're now on, where everybody denies everybody's the real president.
Seeing a man who can discuss topics like quantum physics and elk hunting suddenly attack a political story for being a circus of hyperbole is disconcerting. He isn't here to give in to pressure or make things seem more politically acceptable. Are you serious? He's here to point things out, and he does it in a casual manner. Tone that gives Matt's exaggerated assertions the appearance of a haphazard sketch. Conversely, Megyn Kelly is the complete opposite at 11:14. And the magic takes place there. She takes a medical knife to the same battlefield, ruthlessly cutting through the theatrical exaggeration to expose the foundation of moral and journalistic failings. Kelly's legalistic dissection is like to witnessing a high-stakes trial play, out in slow motion, with each word Maddow says being examined for purpose as well as fact.
Russia.
Would have been to win the election. Didn't. Okay. Time to save the country.
She is stomach turning, isn't she? It could be, you're in danger. What do you do with your 10 houses and your tens of millions? My God, you better start preparing. You should start getting the medication kits and the food right now. Store away. Trump is coming for you, Rachel. Jeez, could be fun. Could be fun. Oh yeah, who would ever know what it's like for MSNBC to be in the oh wait, Russia. We know your trick, Madam Pirate. When you're in the opposition, your nobility in your efforts to save the country, you fucking lie. That's what you do. You lie every day. And then you victim. What a ridiculous person.
Fact. She doesn't only state that it's incorrect. She skillfully explains why it is bad, why it matters, and how it undermines the fundamental confidence that the public places in the news. She does all of this with her trademark cool-headedness, which gives you the impression that you're witnessing a chess master stealthily break through a novice's guard. It is akin to seeing a masterpiece in media takedowns, when Rogan's unpolished conversational hammer and Kelly's exact legal scalpel clash. Imagine Rogan destroying the false material like a wrecking ball, revealing its obvious flaws and outright lies. Kelly then intervenes, deftly exposing the layers of prejudice and purpose, demonstrating that Maddow's story is more than simply factually dubious. Its basic purpose is to deceive, manipulate emotions, and bring viewers to a predefined conclusion. That took place today. Who among us is aware of human nature? Who among us is aware?
And no one, even someone calling herself a journalist, will even bother to challenge you on it. Instead, They'll joke about how they're going to shop for a new wardrobe, which, by the way, Rachel Maddow does.
Where? There's this one memorable scene, Rachel, where Rogan highlights a stark contradiction in Mad's chronology. Wait, that doesn't add up, is a famous moment. The consequences are immediate and explosive. On the 4th of July, social media was ablaze with fireworks, with videos of Rogan and Kelly's takedowns spreading like wildfire. Hashtags became popular, memes emerged, and many passive media critics honed their typing skills to join in. Matt is out of radio silence in the meanwhile, not even a faint eyebrow lift, a tweet, or a sound. It was the quiet of a person praying no one saw them sticking their fingers in the cookie jar. This quiet says a lot, because if we learn anything from history, these incidents have a tendency to either degrade or change people, and sometimes both. There's more to this takedown than simply amusement. It's a teaching moment, an appeal to demand responsibility from those in positions of power, to challenge the storytellers, and to raise the standard for what we consider news. Maddow, however, said nothing at all, just the sound of a meticulously maintained empire faltering. No rebuttal, no explanations. Clips, jokes, and confused followers wondering whether Maddow's typical stronghold of spin had finally been challenged were all over social media. What comes next, then? Will Maddow change her strategy? Will she meekly withdraw to her safe haven of political pontification, or will she double down? Everyone needed that type of media magic, but no one anticipated it. The narrative continues.